And welcome back to the Chatty Ramble podcast. My guest today is Kim Searle of Emotional Mastery. Now, you may have seen me chatting to Kim on Facebook and various other things that I've done. So I've known Kim a few years, and she is awesomely amazing with the work that she does. And as you know, I'm a big fan of the shadow work. And that's really where Kim's work sits. It's in that shadow and guiding people to be the best version of themselves and, smash goals and achieve everything they want to achieve. So she's not a mindset coach. She's far, far more than that. She's all about healing. But today's Chatty Ramble, we were just talking about self-care. Before we came on air, we were just talking about self-care and how crap we all are at it. And Kim was saying how obviously people have made their New Year's resolutions and then they've all fallen off the wagon within the first 3 weeks. And so that's going to be sort of the basis of our Chatty Ramble, is about actually why do we make New Year's resolutions and things. But first, let me introduce you to Kim, or I'll get Kim to introduce herself because she can talk about herself and knows her work far better than I do. So over to you, Kim. Please say hello and tell us what you do.
Oh, thank you. What a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much. And welcome to all your podcast listeners, past, present, and future. Yeah, I work at an emotional level because I've done emotion really well over time. And it's just an energy. Emotion is just an energy, and I'm not yet proficient or understand enough about energy to work there, but that's really where I'm heading in terms of the long term, because I've done various healing modalities, Reiki, spiritual practitioner, master spiritual practitioner. By the way, I don't think I did really well, but I understood the principles. I just couldn't do it. I think
I know now. I disagree with you there.
Here comes the chatty.
Sorry. I met Kim. We were at the same, at one point we were both in the same women's networking group. And I'd hit a wall. I was absolute rock bottom. I was feeling like shit. My mojo had right royally fucked off. And I was so stuck. I just didn't know where to go. I just put a note out on the group saying, I just feel like shite. Don't know who I am, where I'm going. I just feel awful. Has anybody got any tips? Help. My usual stuff's not working. Kim sent me a private message, sent me this incredible meditation that got me out of my doldrums. And it was the beginning of a beautiful friendship, to be honest. Yeah. So don't tell me that you don't do it really well, because being able to do that and share that information through a meditation was bloody phenomenal. And you didn't know me. So I disagree with you, because it's all energy, isn't it, at the end of the day?
It is all energy. And for your viewers, listeners, is that we underplay our big skills, don't we? Because they're normal for us. Yeah. And because they're normal, we just take them for granted. So thank you for the reminder. I can do it. I'm just not quite confident enough to be out there promoting it on LinkedIn in the business world, shall we say. But yes, it underpins everything I do. If anybody asks me, I will do some spiritual energy work. I did pranic healing as well a couple of years back. Loved it. And there's a whole topic there, I'm sure. But what I struggled with was the idea of doing it with somebody remote, because it's quite time intensive. So, they say an hour and they mean an hour, because by the time you've cleared everything up and then you've elevated the energy, it can take a good hour. So I haven't quite yet worked out how I can bring that into my practice more, but that's powerful too.
Oh, see, I've never done pranic healing. I've heard of it, and I've tried all kinds of things over the years, but I've never. Oh, okay. If you fancy a guinea pig, I'll guinea pig for you online doing pranic healing.
Oh, okay. I'll dig out my books and remind myself, because it's been a little while since I've done it. But yeah, it's because I thought it was, when it said pranic, I thought it was all about breath work.
Yeah, I would have said so.
No. So it works with the chakras. We've gone a bit off topic, but that's okay. It's a ramble. it deals with the different chakras, and I think it goes up to the next one up, and down.
Yeah.
And literally, what you're doing is you're, if for want of a better word, you're stirring them, pulling out the negative energy and throwing it into a bowl of salt water. And then you're using the energy of the universe, the field, whatever, to re-energize the chakra and turn it a different way. That's in essence. But you can do organs, and of course they're not chakras, so you can clean the liver and heal, or aid in the healing of the kidneys or the heart, and yeah, it's very good stuff. I think I did the 3 levels very quickly, and was going to use it, but then I thought, well, actually I do most of my work online, and I'm not sure how it would work, and will it take the full session? Possibly, I don't know. Yeah, no, we'll give it a go sometime.
Absolutely.
Happy to do
that. That sounds awesome.
Thank you.
So we were talking about, before we came on, we were talking about New Year's resolutions.
We were talking New Year's resolutions, yes.
And self-care, and how crap we all are at it. I've got a whacking great start at the minute, and that's why I keep rubbing my eyes when I'm doing these things, because it makes, for some reason, according to my optician, I don't blink enough. I don't know. Anyway, and they itched, and I've rubbed it, and I've now got a bloody sty.
Who knew that was a thing?
Who knew that was a thing? Anyway, and Kim was saying, get to January, 3rd week of January, everyone's fallen off their New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
But see, I don't think, this is my personal opinion, actually making New Year's resolutions in the mid of winter, because literally, if you think about it, we're just after Yule, aren't we? So midwinter, 21st, 22nd of December is midwinter. Week or 10 days later, we've got the 1st of January. We're all making these New Year's resolutions. We're going to go to the gym, we're going to diet, we're going to quit the fast, we're going to quit the booze, we're going to quit whatever, the chocolate, and we're going to do more of this, more of that. We're going to, whatever we're going to do or not do. Within 3 days, 3 weeks, we've all gone, chuck that in the bucket, because I've completely lost energy, interest, and motivation.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's because it's cold, it's dark, it's miserable. New Year's resolutions, anything that you want to create a habit for, should always be started in the spring, especially if it's going to be like a physical thing, like giving up something or starting something, because we've got the brighter days, the warmer days. We've got daffodillies.
We've got a lovely way of saying them, daffodillies. Daffodillies,
yeah. And it's like there's the life returning to the earth. The sap is rising. So our energy is increasing. So therefore our motivation is increasing. We've got more light, more vitamin D. And our resilience is likely to be stronger. And that's just what I was sort of thinking about with we were talking about it. But we're also talking about our own self-care programs and how crap we are at them, and how we can spend all day doing better, eating better, sleeping better, meditating more.
But isn't that what the whole the setting new intentions for the year is? It's about taking better care of the things that matter to us, or that we think matter to us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, because you do some of this work, don't you, Kim, about self-care and planning? So take me through what you would do with a client that says, what's to change a really crappy habit? And because you do hypnosis as well, don't you? You trained in hypnosis as well, didn't you?
Yeah, and it does underpin a lot of what I do, and not just clearing the back in history, but creating the future. And I'll explain that if we get time. So for me, when somebody comes to me and they're talking New Year's resolutions, I am completely with you. In fact, I did have a client who was a bit concerned that he'd had a rough start to the year. It is what it is, and it wasn't great. And he was like, well, I haven't set my strategy for the business for next year. And I said to him, don't. It's your business. What harm is it in delaying that for 3 months or longer if you need to? And he looked at me and he was quiet, and then he said, oh yeah. He was under this old habit, if you like, of this is what I've got to do. This is what we're supposed to do. This is how it should be. And absolutely, you know, the same with New Year's resolutions, continue what you're doing. But if it's not working for some reason, sometimes you have to review it, pause it, stop it, change it. I don't know, but we just need to be thinking a little bit more about it, because actually most of what's not working or we want to change is an old habit that isn't doing the right thing for us anymore. And so, yeah, when somebody comes to me with an old habit, it's okay. Well, when did you start this habit? How did it start? Because when you find out roughly, not, you won't get the, you know, it was 12 on January the 18th. You won't get that, but you might get, oh, it was about 8 years ago or something, you know, this habit came into play. Then you can turn around and say, okay, well, what was going on? So you get an overall picture of what was going on, because habits are the shortcut of the unconscious mind to keep us safe. That is its primary objective.
So what about things like limiting beliefs? You know, that imposter syndrome. Do you work with that kind of stuff too?
Yes, for me, one of the I like to be watching for, be mindful of, and even if it doesn't come up as a limiting belief, I still go with it, is I want my clients to walk away believing in themselves. That'd be amazing. The Americans are great at this, instilling self-belief. And if you've got self-belief, then the chances are you can start to trust yourself. The second of my 4 keys to a good life. If you trust yourself, will you not do the right things at the right time for you and those around you?
Oh, now that's a big poke, isn't it? I can
Very
feel
big
that.
poke.
And I thought I trusted myself and my judgment.
Yeah. We trust to a degree.
Yes.
We do trust to a degree.
Levels.
But when we keep letting ourselves down, the link to self-care, when we keep letting ourselves down, why would the body trust us? Because it's not us. It might not even be us, but it's the body mind. It's that whole neurology, that right down to a cellular level. Well, you don't do that. Yeah, you've said that before. That's not happening, is it? Going to bed at 10:30? Who are you having a laugh with? That's me. So, so the trust is so deep that, you know, the brain won't always trust us. So we need to believe in ourselves, and I want us to trust ourselves. The next one's more challenging. Is there anything more challenging? Yes. Loving ourselves. And this is where self-care really comes in, because if we love ourselves, and I'm not talking or romantic love or, you know, narcissistic love. No. This is basically self-care. This is believing in self, trusting yourself, and knowing you've got a right to be here.
Oh, that's another poke, isn't it?
Big one. Absolutely. And the last one just brings it all together, is about feeling safe being ourselves. So you can say what you want and you feel safe. You can be who you are and feel safe. Imposter syndrome. We don't. It may not be all the time. And this is the thing. Some people think imposter syndrome is all encompassing. No, it might just be when you're meeting somebody particular who you have a problem with. Could be a family member, whatever. You don't feel safe. The law pulls you up. You don't feel safe. This is where if you believe in yourself and trust yourself and love yourself, to know that you're okay as you are, the safety will just kick in.
Wow. And
that's really my aim for my clients, but obviously they come
amazing.
wanting to deal with the imposter syndrome or the procrastination. So they're dealing with pockets, but actually it's a more holistic way of looking at ourselves.
And the thing is, when you're dealing with anything like I know imposter syndrome really, really well. So when I initially self-published my cards, my Jack and Path Oracle deck, and I can remember we were waiting for them to come through from the printers, and I think for about 3 months out, once they were done, we were waiting before we launched. We were just sort of mopping up,
Yeah.
and I started to go into fear, like huge. I don't think I've ever experienced fear quite as big. And that's when I first encountered imposter syndrome. And by the time they were, I'd had notification they were on their way. I think it was about 3 weeks before they actually hit the UK and came to customs and stuff. I was almost an insomniac for 3 weeks. I was in abject fear.
Oh,
and
right.
I was absolutely waiting for them to hit the shelves and to start being lambasted of being a fake, of being who do you think you are? You're talking utter rubbish. I was just waiting to be called out as being a complete fake or not knowing what I was talking about. And I didn't know about imposter. That's when I first encountered, the first time ever I encountered full-on imposter syndrome. I didn't even know it was a thing until 2016, 2017. Didn't know it existed until then. Oh my God. And it's imposter syndrome is crippling.
It can be, and it's just self-doubt. I mean, imposter syndrome is a label used in the 80s or 90s by some psychologist or sociologist or something. So it's a label, but it's self-doubt.
Is that what it is? Oh, yeah, of course it is.
I know, it's crazy. So we've got a nice little label for it, but actually it comes down to we doubt ourselves. And if you believe in yourself and you trust yourself and you love yourself, where would that self-doubt be? Kicked into touch. Now, I absolutely understand that there may have been...
You've just blown my mind. Sorry, Kim, you've just blown my mind on the fact is there's this huge thing, imposter syndrome, and actually all it is self-doubt.
It's self-doubt.
That is just completely... Sorry, guys, if you're listening to this, and I'm hoping you had the
Well, I hope that's done it for some others as well.
I'm just floored by that because I had not put the two together.
Why would you? Because everybody talks about this imposter syndrome, and somebody I know talks about high achieving imposter syndrome. High achieving doubt. No, I can't remember. High achieving imposter syndrome, because what happened is you're reaching out beyond your comfort zone to achieve something, and yeah, I'll go with that. Still self-doubt.
Wow. Before we came on air this morning, before I took the girls out, I somehow, I don't know how I wound up on it, but I was ended up on Fern Cotton's Happy Place podcast.
Oh yes.
And I don't listen to podcasts, so I expect you to listen to mine.
Me too.
But
the odd one.
I very occasionally catch one. Anyway, this morning I was looking for some music actually, and then I happened to put on Happy Place podcast, and a girlfriend of mine raves about the Happy Place podcast. And her guest today, or when I was listening to, was I can't remember who she is. I've got a feeling she was in Corrie. She started her career in Corrie. And I think she might have been in My Girl. I don't know if I'm right in saying that. But she was talking about imposter syndrome and how even though she's a successful actress and she's done a successful series, her brain is going, well, I can do that again. Then you've done it once, and I just thought, my God, there's somebody who's incredibly successful, who's been on lots of different series and things like that. And travels with she's recorded abroad and one thing and another, and yet in the back of her mind, her programming, her go-to is, okay, so that's a wrap, that series is finished, you're not going to get another job, or how are you going to get another job, how are you going to get another program? And I just find that phenomenal that even somebody that's that successful has that same program running in the background of imposter syndrome, and that it just blows my mind.
I can completely get it, and it doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter who you are.
This morning,
and because I love the fact that you talk it as being a program, because it is. We have been programmed from birth, and for those of you who are that way inclined, ancestrally.
Yeah.
Because I often, as an emotional mastery coach, talk about the fact that I blame the Victorians. I don't think it's just them. I think there are others involved in that, not mentioning any religions at all. But we are penalised for being ourselves from the word go. Don't do this. You shouldn't do that. What are you doing? Oh, you could do better. What's this? I'm sure you could get more than that. Oh, yes, but look at your brother, your sister, you know, and we are compared, we are lambasted from not quite birth, because I think somebody said it and I agreed, probably for the first 2 years, we're just in adorable. And we can't do any wrong. And oh, look, they fell over, but they're learning to walk. You fall over at 4 and it's like, get up. What you doing? Crying. You know, we're suddenly being
Oh my God.
criticized, judged, and blah, a whole raft of things. Not surprising that everyone somewhere has that ability for self-doubt.
Wow. Again, I hadn't thought in those, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? And that's why when I'm talking to people, you know, we were talking habits earlier, you know, you know, you're okay. You know, it's not your fault. Whatever's going on in your world, it's not your fault. And people look at me as I say, of course it's not. No, seriously, it's not. Because what you've done is you've worked out, you've acted out according to the programming that you've got from parents and family and friends, society, your workplace, and you're building all the time, stacking all these different habits and ideas and concepts. Me too, I'm no different. But we're building them until we get to who we are. And it is only when we start to question, challenge, become curious. Why did I do that? Why did I say that? Do we start to then unpick what's gone on in the past? Does that make sense? And once you can
complete,
you can then start to do something different. And that's with habits. They've come from somewhere. They've come from somewhere to make us feel safe, which in the first 7 or 8 years is the most important thing. And then between 8 and about 30, it's all about fitting in, because when you fit in with the tribe, you're not on your own to keep yourself safe. Oh, hello. So I talk about the drug, sex, rock and roll of the teen years. I think I managed to do one of those. So yeah, I was a very sheltered teenager, if I'm honestly. One of my problems, but you know, with all this going on, we're trying to fit in, and that's what happens throughout. Yeah, this is why we have groups, why Facebook took over, because we could form our own little groups and, you know, feel comfortable in them, but they are a trap as well as a comfort. So once you understand which ones are working for you and which ones are not, the idea is you can then change them. And then that comes down to what's important to you, which actually ties into self-care. Because unless you're important to you, yeah, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. I'm working on a program at the minute called My $1 Million Experiment. And I don't expect to become a millionaire in 2024. But I was really interested in,
what if you could?
Oh, if we could. And that is what I was interested in, is what's the story behind it? And actually, you know, because our self-care, our programming, and all of this, it all affects our ability to live, to love, to earn, to do the jobs we love, to, you know, embrace life.
Yeah.
And one of the things that she was talking about in one of the weeks, I don't know what week we're on now, I can't remember, week 7 I think we're on, but one of the earlier week things she was talking about in the program was about what would it be like to choose you, to put you first, to have a choice, to choose. I think the title was to choose you. And how does that all feel? But that comes back also to self-care, doesn't it? About not putting every other bugger first.
Yeah. But
actually about, what do I need at this moment, today, this week, this month? And I just thought that was really profound. Now, a friend of mine is really struggling with that and finding that she's just got stuck there. And I get it.
Self-esteem.
But isn't it? That's what it is it?
Well, I'm shouting it out, but it could be anything. But you know, she's obviously, her self-esteem is just your opinion of yourself to everybody else. It's a comparison, isn't it? Really, and you know, why me? you know, because again, we've been programmed to put mum and dad first, or, you know, siblings first, or family first, or job first. We've been programmed. Even when you're rebelling, you are still responding to that original programming. You're just doing it in a different way. So yeah, I say self-esteem. It might not be self-esteem, but I suspect it's about her own opinion of herself, and that's a good thing, that's a good realization, isn't it? Do you not think?
Yeah,
Because that now
I just got to work. She's
that
got to work
person
through
the
it.
time to really reflect on, well, how's that come about, and why am I not as important in my world? Because and I'm glad you brought it up, and so whoever it is, thank you, because it's a good message for so many people who put other people first. People pleasing, they call it, another great label. People pleasing. It's because you're not important enough for some reason. You're not worthy of, you know, and that all comes back to the belief of believing in who you are and the fact you've got a right to be here.
Yeah,
You are just as valid as anyone else. And I personally believe, and it's an old cliche, but it's a really good one, is it's like the whole, you know, if the plane's going down, put the oxygen mask on you, on your self first before your child. Because unless you're in good place, how can you give anything to anyone? How can you be that people pleaser if you're drained and your energy is through the floor?
Yeah. It is really interesting. And that again is back to self-care, isn't it?
Absolutely. And habits, because that's all self-care is, really, isn't it? It's prioritizing the things that are important to you so they become a habit, so you don't have to think about it, because the brain likes that. More time to keep alert, watch out, make sure you're safe.
Isn't that fantastic? So staying as sort of people pleaser and choosing you and imposter syndrome, all of these things, I think, and I just, if I'm wrong, please correct me. But all of these things strike me is that we are doing everything for everybody else, whether we're husband, mum, wife, auntie, whatever, uncle, brother,
Yeah,
cousin. We are doing all of these things for other people, and they've all got layered over us, and we actually lose sight, or maybe we've never even known who we are at a core person. We've sort of taken on everybody else's values, beliefs, lessons, and yet actually, who is Caroline? Who is Kim at their very core? Am I right in saying that all of these things sort of we lose sight of who we are as a true aspect of ourselves, and what our own mind is?
Yes, in a short answer, because who we are has been covered up. You know,
how do we get back then to who we are? Obviously, it's layers.
Yeah, just tackling the stuff that comes up for us. Obviously the really big stuff you may well need help with, because it will be hidden in those layers. But deal with the small stuff first. Always start with the small stuff, the easy stuff. And each one you clear will have a bright vibrational effect on some of the others, so it's not so big by the time you get to deal with it. Does that make sense?
Perfect.
So sometimes when a client comes to me, I mean, I do more than just therapy, as you know now. I try to move people into the future, and support them on their journey. But when we go into the past, you know, normally 6 to 12 sessions will deal with the big stuff. And we'll start with some of the small stuff, procrastination or imposter syndrome, blah, blah, blah. And somewhere in that journey, the big stuff will come up, and they've been avoiding saying it. One of the things, when I was training to be a hypnotherapist, they said very often the client will be leaving the room, you finish the session, the client said, will say something along the lines of, I don't know whether this is important. And comes out with the next big thing. And it's like, oh yeah, should we talk about that next time? Because it is, the unconscious feels safe, is to able to express what it is. But what's happened is, not only does it feel safe, you've almost proven to yourself that who you're seeing is the right person, that you can now deal with this. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, so I think what happens is, as you deal with all the different layers, where did I start? I don't know this is the exact first thing because my memory's not so great. I've got journals all over the place, so I'm sure I could find it. But one of the first things I did when I started on this journey was deal with my mum. I lost my mum when I was just turned 8. I was 8 on the 26th of September. She died on the 8th of October, so very close.
Ooh.
And I never dealt with it because at that age, children are seen and not heard, and they thought they were shielding you from stuff. So there's a whole raft of stuff. And there are layers to that. There was the layer of actually losing mum. There was the layer of being left behind at the funeral. I wasn't allowed to go. There's the issue with her dying in hospital, and I wasn't allowed to see her. Back then, children were not allowed on the ward, so I wasn't allowed to see her until she was pretty much at death's door. I have no idea how much that traumatized me because I can't remember it, but I wasn't allowed to see her. And there's all these different aspects to the one thing. So when you've dealt with one thing, then you're ready to deal with the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, and so on. So it's a process, and just deal with the first thing that you're presented with that you know you're not happy with. Because this is why I do emotional mastery. Those emotions are your sat nav to telling you where things are working or not working. And the more that you have the negative emotions, the more dense and down you will feel, because their vibrational level is actually a lower hertz than the nice high ones that we all want to attain to. Not all the time because we'd be exhausted, but you know, a more balanced one. So I've wittered there, but that's what it is. It's rambling, isn't it? Yay, I'm off.
But it's also fascinating that
it is fascinating.
and if you've just got layers and layers of stuff, you end up in this sort of pit of despair. And you actually, something that you just mentioned, and something that you and I both got in common, that we journal.
Yes, yeah, I do journal.
And I was actually journaling this morning, and affirmations are amazing. I know you use them too, don't you?
Not in quite the same way, but yes, I do. I was never a big fan of them because just saying something
doesn't work.
Really doesn't work. You've got to have the vibrational or emotional match for it.
And you've got to, for affirmations to be actually successful, you need to write them.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I
write them
all the time, but I've written them once and then I tap through them to try
to
get into the
yeah. And so, you know, if you're sort of something that I just want to chuck this out there, maybe, and Kim can either veto it or say yes, that works. Is if you're sort of struggling with something and you don't, and you can't clear it, or you haven't got a chance to get to see somebody, it's actually journaling on what it is you're feeling, isn't it?
Oh, for people who love writing, it's perfect. Absolutely perfect, because you can put down everything you want on a piece of paper. And if it's private, because sometimes it might be about your partner or, you know, somebody you live with, you know, you might want to write everything down and not feel constrained. So feel safe to be able to do it. What I would recommend is that you hold it onto it for no more than 48 hours and then burn it. It's a form of release. It's a metaphorical one that the brain's like, oh, okay, we can let that go now. You've started to let it go, but this is the final piece to letting it go. I love journaling. I do it all the time. Well, most of the time. I haven't done it over the weekend, but you know, journaling is a really great way to do it. And if journaling's not your thing, then there are many other ways that you can deal with what's going on. There's courses online. There's Instabook and Face Chat and God knows what else out there with people offering their pearls of wisdom. Go onto YouTube and put something in there and you may learn something, because this is where I think it's really important to understand we are each of us on our own journey and no one thing works for everyone. We have to find our own way through the detritus that we've gathered over our lifetime.
Absolutely. And it's like when I started my spiritual journey, you don't have just one teacher.
No.
Over the course of my journey, I've had a number of teachers over the years. And I think it's the same when we begin our healing journey, isn't it? We have a number of people that, again, because the people that walk our healing journey with us are also our teachers. And we will walk alongside, because you don't know, when you a healing journey is absolutely about walking alongside somebody along that path.
Yeah.
It's something that you do incredibly well, I feel.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.
Both in terms of having teachers and following them, and obviously helping others.
Yeah. But you won't have just one person that you see on your healing journey. You know, you may work with Kim for a little while, and then that solves that, and then you go off and you do something else, and it's always a journey. It's never an end destination, is it? And that's with any of our healing work that we do. There's never a destination. It's we go to that point. We go to point A to point B to point C, right down to Z, and all the way back to A all over again. Because it's never finished, is it?
No, it's not.
No. There may be something specific that you wish to clear, which is where Kim is excellent at. But once you've cleared that, and you may have, and I call it plateauing, and you have this point where you go, oh my gosh, we're through that. And you may bump along there and sort of, you know, just mosey through life for 2 or 3 months, a year or whatever. Then something else surfaces. It's like, oh, okay. And then it begins again. It's a different topic, but it begins again. And I think, you know, a therapist, a good healing therapist, when you're talking whatever kind of therapist you're talking about, not just mental health therapy, whatever kind of therapy you're talking about, a good one will walk beside you.
Yeah. So in your wisdom, because I don't think I've ever asked you this question, so I hope that's okay. But what do you think that's about, that we're constantly dealing with new stuff? Because I remember years ago somebody saying to me, once you start on this journey, be very aware it never ends.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? It was a bit late to tell me then. I was already on it. And they said you will always be clearing stuff. Now, I've got my theories on it, but I'd love to hear yours. Why do you think we still have this different things coming up as we get going?
For me, I feel it's actually about we're growing, and it's our awareness. Right. And as we grow as a person, and we come into alignment with our truth and who we are, a soul and this physical being level, we then get what's being banded around currently is being triggered.
Yeah.
And so something will trigger us. Either go into screaming abdabs, have a complete hissy fit, burst into tears, whatever it is that we do, there's a trigger, and it sends us off down a rabbit hole of emotion. And it could be a rabbit hole of emotion that we previously weren't aware of. But as we grow and our awareness grows and we become, I'll use the word more healed. It's not the right term, but it'll do for what we're talking about. You then, I think these triggers actually are in glaring contrast to where we are in our point of center. And they're illuminated more, and we're just healing old belief patterns, old wounds, old somethings that actually aren't in alignment with us. Now, maybe 5 years ago, that thing wouldn't have triggered us.
Of course, yes,
because we weren't aware, we weren't as shining as brightly as we are now. We're not. We hadn't healed or grown to the point that we had now. And so, of course, then it comes. So when it's ready to be looked at, it's like, actually, I really don't like that. I need to sort that out. That's my feeling on it.
No, that's you're right. Because you're elevating yourself up every time you heal. Your frequency and vibration. I don't know the difference. Well, I do, but I haven't quite got it sorted in my head properly. But that you're elevating yourself up, becoming lighter and brighter, and hopefully a happier person.
Oh, sorry, dogs are barking.
And the thing with that then is that you're then meeting the world in a different place, aren't you? walking out and you're meeting them in a different place. It's like, I don't know, coming out of Aldi with all the shopping that's going there, and suddenly you've upgraded yourself to Tesco's. You're dealing with a different crowd of people and a different set of problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you for that. I hadn't really thought about it. It's a good opportunity to do that.
Yeah,
I like it.
it is. I just think it's interesting, isn't it? How, yes, what maybe didn't affect us 5 years ago would affect us now, just because we've grown, we've changed, we have different expectations of ourselves, of others. We have a different alignment. And that's just how it sort of feels to me.
Yeah.
Interesting, isn't it? So I did have a question, and it's with the dog's barking, it's gone completely out of my head. I'm sorry about the dog's barking.
That's all right. I'm surprised my one's been quite quiet.
So how do people find you, Kim? Do you do one-to-ones?
I do still do one-to-ones. I'm trying to do more group coaching work because for those in business, although I did have a program for people just for themselves called Be More You, which I did during lockdown, actually. So if I got enough people, I would do that again. So they can find me either by keying in Kim Searle Emotional Mastery in Googly, and I'll come up. Or they can find me on LinkedIn if they're LinkedIn. Again, Kim Searle Emotional Mastery. And just for ease, kim@kimsearle.co.uk would be another easy way. So my name is in all of it. So
wonderful. Do you have a YouTube channel?
I do. Thank you. I do need to be a little bit more regular on it. I do podcasts, and I do a guided coaching meditation. Now, call it coaching because not everybody's open to anything else, but they're really short, most of them 15 minutes max. Some of them are a bit longer, to help go through some stuff that's going on, and you just listen to them and you just allow my voice to go wherever it needs to go to hit those trouble spots, or sometimes positive ones. So, what you're going to do for the week. So there's those going on. So yes, there is a YouTube. And I think, again, put Kim Searle in Emotional Mastery, it should come up.
Awesome. And actually, on our Chatty Ramble, actually allowing is probably key to healing, isn't it? Allowing is key to just letting what is coming up come up, so we can either, whether it's amazing or hideous, it's just allow it, isn't it? But of course, when we fight it and we struggle with ourselves and try and resist it and push it down, push it away, of course it just gets bigger, doesn't it? It gets worse, and it keeps coming back to bite us, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, definitely. Ignoring something never works. And I'm going to be a bit audacious here, and possibly have people squirm in their seats or get outraged about it. A lot of illness is caused by suppressed emotions.
Oh yes, it's called dis-ease.
Yes,
that's what we had. Disease.
Yeah,
it is a dis-ease.
Yeah. So I do not want to underplay anybody's illness. No. And I wouldn't dream of telling anyone who told me they've got something that, they've got suppressed something or other, or they've ignored it or parked it, or just felt that they're not able to deal with it. Never dream that in a million years. But I just want to be clear for people that, it's that important. We all know stress will cause coughs, colds, mini accidents. What makes them think having something stored that's not moving, that's trapped, wouldn't do the same.
Absolutely.
Our molecular structure.
And I know that firsthand. When I was in my early 20s, we had a house fire that was destroyed everything. Killed the dogs, destroyed my business, nowhere to live, no clothes, literally. But I had what I stood up in. And I was just sort of I thought my parents were dead, didn't know where they were. It was pretty hideous. We've been through this process with Kim, and she actually cleared it. like that. I didn't realize I was storing this stuff in my body. Anyway, it was a really traumatic experience, and I didn't grieve for that process. I just picked myself up, dusted myself off, spent £2.5 grand in less than 5 minutes. I needed a toothbrush, a hairbrush, a hairdryer. I needed knickers, I needed socks, I needed underwear, I needed a pair of jeans. I've never spent so much money so quickly in my life. And bearing in mind this was like the mid-80s. And I just held that pressure, that grief, that pain, that anger in my system. And about 18 months later, I went down with a thing called, they didn't know what it was, put me in ICU in hospital, not ICU, put me in isolation hospital. Had a roaring temperature, couldn't move, everything hurt. They called it viral arthritis because they thought at first I had glandular fever, but then didn't have any symptoms of glandular fever. And this pain kept moving. Couldn't walk. It was absolutely awful. And it started with a really sore throat and went to my lower back, and it just escalated throughout the course of the day. Anyway, they finally let me out of hospital with this. Didn't know what it was. It was just a virus of some description. And every time I went into any kind of stress or overtiredness, this thing would come back, and I'll be in bed and not able to move for a fortnight at least at a time.
Yep.
And it's only as I've gone through my own healing process and my own spiritual journey that I've realized actually it was this dis-ease of pushing all of this stuff down, because it was so huge. I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't have the emotions, I didn't have the understanding, I didn't have the emotional intelligence or anything else at 21, 22 to be able to handle something that was so huge. And a girlfriend said to me, look, you've got to let this out, you've got to deal with this. I'm fine. Just life keeps going on, you know? Nothing I can do about it. It's done, it's finished, it's dusted. Let it go. It's just fine until it sits you on your ass completely, which is what it did to me. And then at 30, I was on Prozac. And the GP said to me, it's delayed postnatal depression and it's delayed trauma.
Yeah, that's...
I'm going to do Prozac. I'm going to do Prozac for about 3 weeks. He said, you can chuck that bucket too. That's all, I'd rather do that. And I pulled myself out of it. And that's when I started my spiritual journey, because I also lost my mentor. And so all of these things sort of crashed together all at the same time. Is those life-changing moments, isn't it?
That's
and
right.
I started my healing journey. So I started training as a spiritual healer, and I started my spiritual journey fully. But it was his death was the catalyst, but there's all the other things that have gone before as well. And that was all about this, and that was dis-ease.
That's, yeah, and I must admit, I don't remember the illness, but yeah, I can see why the two would be linked, and why it can take some time for the body mind to be ready to deal with it. My own trauma of losing my mum, I didn't deal with until I was about 36. You know, it was a marriage breakdown I was going through at the time. It had nothing to do with it. Why would I put two and two together? But it was you know, it was when I was told, because I'd just lost my father, who I hadn't spoken to in about 12 years. Well, you need to deal with that. We can't deal with the relationship until you have. So my ex then went, as you can imagine, as I would have done, well, it's not me, it's you. And you're like, oh, I don't know what that's about. But I was grieving the fact I had nobody around me to support me. And of course, your mum would have been, certainly for us women, the one you'd turn to, and she wasn't there. So yeah, I do get it. I do get it. It's a very big topic, and like you, I've seen evidence of it for myself. Burnout, because I've been in denial for about 30 years. I think I had original burnout at that divorce, and now I've just come through another one and still recovering from it. But now self-care and better habits are right at the top of the pile.
We've got to put ourselves first, aren't we? We cannot give from an empty cup.
Yeah.
Or as another lady that I follow, Eloise Burton, the money alchemist, says, I know you need an overflowing cup. Give from the saucer, not from the cup, because always the cup. Always get the cup. You're always draining from your own, you're always giving from your own vessel. Whereas if your cup is overflowing, you give from the saucer, and you're never giving everything away energetically, which she's talking.
That sounds lovely. I like that one. I'm going to adopt that. Funnily enough, I only just posted about giving from a full cup yesterday in LinkedIn, so I might go back and put a little footnote. Eloise Burton, wasn't it? You said.
Yeah, Eloise Burton, the Money Alchemist. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, she's got some, and I'm actually hoping to have her on podcast actually, because she's fascinating, and how our you know, how money and our fears around money actually link to our own programming around everything that we do in life. It's really, I can't afford to do that, or that's not for me. Yeah, we won't even go into that one because that's a huge topic.
I will have to look out for that one when it's published.
Yeah, it's a great. Kim, thank you so much for joining me.
I appreciate you asking. Always love talking to you, Caroline.
Always. I really look forward to chatting to you again. Big love, and I will see you soon, darling.
Oh, thank you, and thank you to all your listeners for tuning in. Appreciate it. Big love too.
Thanks for joining me, guys. Bye for now.